In this video, I'm going to get the car ready for the dyno. I'm just checking for air leaks here that would affect the idle and some of the enrichment in the fuel levels. So first thing I'm going to do is going to check the gaskets for the inlet manifold. I didn't actually change them, so they're probably 15 years old or whatever from that Jag engine. They belong, 6 of them, one for each of the inlet manifold tracts. So I'm just going to put some carb cleaner there where it's running, or some brake cleaner, and if the revs rise, probably there's air getting in at that point, so I'll try that out. So there's 2 sets of gaskets in the inlet manifold system. One joins these carbon fibre inlet manifolds to this lower inlet manifold, you can see them here. And then there's a second set that joins this lower inlet manifold to the block. So it's on this side. So I can see just by looking at this that there's a little bit of oil around some of them. And there's also a little bit of oil on the block. And these are new gaskets ready to go in. Old and new. The block side is all done now, so I'm going to move on to the carbon fibre inlet manifold side. Okay, I just removed the upper gaskets. 5 of them seem pretty dry. 1 of them is horribly oily. Same over here. These are all dry, but this back one here is covered in oil. So there's 4 bolts to hold on the lower inlet manifold, and there is 4 on each side for each bank on the upper ones. They take a really low torque rating of 10 Newton meters, so you have to be really careful here, or else you'll over compress the seals and they won't seal right. So make sure you use a torque wrench. Ever since I first started the car, I've been noticing some steam coming off the radiator, which I presume was just some coolant that had dropped onto the fins here at the back, but it just keeps pouring out of this rough area here. And I think there's a leak, a pinhole leak somewhere in the radiator. This was a cheap eBay special from China, and a lot of people said they've had good results with these. I painted it black after I got it, but my experience hasn't been so good, so I thought rather than buy cheap, buy twice, I'd buy a decent brand. So gonna go with a Mishimoto. I don't think I'll bother painting it black, but I'll just replace the one that's in there with this. This is packaged very, very nicely. So there'd been some conversation on the Facebook group for Rocketeer owners about wiring and some of the wiring being in the wrong orientation in the connectors. So the coil packs are meant to have the connector, the red cable going into the right side of the connector, and the throttle position sensor should have pink, black, purple. So there's a few people reporting that they weren't like that, so I just thought I'd check it out on mine. So I did have all of my coil packs shut on the wrong side. The red was on the left side and instead of on the right, so I'm just in the process of changing them over now. Also, my throttle position sensor wiring is in the wrong order, so I'm going to switch that over as well. Hopefully that'll start fixing some of my startup problems, where it seems to take about 10 turns to actually get this to fire up in the first place. Once it starts, it seems to run okay, but I'm hoping it'll fix some of the starting issues. So the next steps were to get the engine changed declared to the motor tax office. In order to do this, you have to bring a car to a main dealer. In this case, it's a Kia dealer local to me, and get them to verify the engine number that's stamped on the block and fill in all that information along with the chassis number. So here he's just looking at the engine number itself. And we have it. That's the letter that you need, along with a form that has to be stamped. You bring it to the tax office. This is all the documentation I needed to bring with me to get the ownership document updated. And here's the new one. As you can see, the engine CC is now 3 litres. Next step was to get the car tuned, rolling road tuned. So it got brought to a place called TDR Motorsport in Monasterevin. They're located in the same building as Stone Motorsport. He's just finishing up here on the dyno, and the result was... So very healthy result, but... So there's good news and bad news. The good news is that on the dyno it made 260 horsepower at the flywheel. So good strong power, shows that the ECU is well capable of getting the most out of this engine. The bad news is that the engine is not particularly healthy. So there's quite a lot of smoke coming out through the exhaust, particularly on wide open throttle. And there was some kind of noises and rattles and knocks coming from the engine that the tuner wasn't particularly happy about. So most likely culprits are the valve stem oil seals with the oil usage. These engines, I've since found out, can suffer from oil starvation, particularly if the oil seals are gone and there's a lot of vapours and smoke and oil getting places that it shouldn't be. The oil levels are going to drop because of that. You can get oil starvation, and that can lead to the the second item, which is the knocking, is most likely from the big end bearings. So all this could have happened before it was even in the car, most likely did. It was a 100,000 mile engine that I put in. Didn't get it checked whatsoever before I put it in. So what's the plan? The plan is to source a new engine, get it sent to the tuner. He is going to look over it, give it a once over, examine it before I do anything with it. If he finds any issues, to fix those and then put it in the engine. So hopefully at that stage it should be a bit more reliable. At the moment, apart from being smoky, it seems to be taking a while to start, and even though the map was good, you know, it's not something I want to run daily. So all of that means that it's probably going to be 2020 by the time it's on the road, because I don't really want to be driving around with an engine that I don't have faith in, and you know, that break down somewhere. So it's going to take a bit longer, guys. I'm sorry. Slán.